Welcome to the OBR Summer Camp, the very first OBR Summer Camp, a Cleveland Browns training camp spectacular. What a crew we have here with us tonight. Unbelievable. Jeff Lloyd, host of Browns 3D, just got done. You watch him every night at 6 p.m. You got Fred's got the you got marshmallows, Fred? You got fire.
I got better than marshmallows. I got s'mores.
S'mores. Well done, Fred. Good stuff. Fred Greetham is here, the legend. The man that oversees it all, the web dork, Barry McBride, with his tent planted behind him, oh so lit up nicely. Bears attacking Sam Penix. Behind him, beware of the Bears. Don't leave your food out. Big case dog, Casey Kinnaman in the house, and our resident capologist, Jack Duffin, awakening in the middle of the night to join us around the campfire. What's up? Good to have everybody here. Hope you guys enjoy. Take a moment. Hit that like button for us. Button helps us out a ton here at the OBR Streaming Network. We've got tons to get to tonight around the campfire. I'll be roasting my marshmallows here, and we've got a ton of stuff. We're going to cover all of the topics of training camp. We've got something called a death match round, which will be hitting you when you least expect it, with some intense questions that you will all be asked to answer. Yeah, it's going to be fantastic all the way through. Ty Sox, it says that audio is breaking up. Are we okay now, ladies and gentlemen? Everybody? Good to see you all in the good to see you all in the chat anyways.
It's probably the reception out here
in the wild. Yeah, this happened the other day too. Let me let's see. Having some sound issues. So let me this happened the other day on our show. Let me see if we can fix this. I don't know what the problem is here. But we will get to our first topic here. Let's check. We've got auto on, off. Any better? Can you guys hear me okay? That's the first question. I don't. Yeah, sound good, loud and clear. Okay. All right, let's see if that helps any. All right, let's start off with the main question. Coming into this camp, the Browns have a four-way competition between Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and the one and only Shedeur Sanders. Flacco and Pickett are considered the front runners. I kind of have been saying that Pickett is the company line at this point. Kind of, you know, if you listen to the guys on anybody around the team, they were like talking up Pickett as if he is going to be the guy that they want to see take the what you're hearing on. Oh, hey now, everybody disappearing quickly. Yeah, Pickett is the guy that they seem to be pointing to when you pose in the fishbowl in the building. Jeff. If you listen to Zagura, they're kind of talking up Pickett at all times. And yeah, online hide and seek. It's part of the fun games that we play here at summer camp. Disappear and come back. But that kind of seems like a company line. Pickett, Flacco is kind of like, if he fails, we know he doesn't need a lot of reps at the beginning. How the Browns divide up snaps in camp and where, and storyline that everybody in the nation will be watching. It's not just a local thing. This is a national-wide position battle that will be watched. So let's start with you, Jeff Lloyd. If we start off, how long do you think it'll take to get a sense of how they're going to run camp with 4 quarterbacks?
Kind of maybe ignore the hot hand. And again, it's difficult. And, Fred, who's somebody that's there pretty much every day, it's difficult from the point of, what you see in practice as opposed to maybe when the coaches go back off the field later, start breaking down the film, looking at things. And, the reports always get convoluted, kind of get conflicted. We went through this last year. We had certainly some members of the media, making things sounding like they were going, pretty well for Watson. We all remember Zach Jackson was one of those who was telling everybody that I don't know what people are talking about because I'm not seeing much here. It's a really, really strange scenario because any one of these 4 guys, and, I'm not going to say it's 25%, of course, any one of these guys legitimately does have a chance. The thing, though, is whatever goes on here in 2025 with these guys, it may not mean a hill of beans the day the 2025 season ends. That whatever goes on in this room for this season is not going to matter. The Pickett one, I think, for me, it's just interesting. And I agree that it seems like maybe he's getting, the prop up right now. But here was a guy that, Pittsburgh was done with. He was moved to Philly, for a bag of chips. Went from Philly to the Browns for a bag of chips. Sometimes the league has a way of, telling us what the group think of the league is on a player. And, if you just look at the surface, Pickett had a decent record with Pittsburgh. Obviously, those teams in 2022 and 2023 both went to the playoffs. And Pittsburgh just basically ran away. But there was obviously a lot more track record there for Kenny Pickett. And it kind of felt like, why didn't they go further, with Kenny Pickett as far as, okay, maybe the game will progress. We've seen some success. We've been able to, obviously win, go to the playoffs. I think if you really think this team has a chance at competing and winning in 2025, then that changes, obviously, the entire landslide of the percentages for me. And it would have to be Joe Flacco. And yes, he's older, of course. But we've seen as much as appealing is both rookies, and you would like to get the opportunity to see them. It's just really a very difficult situation how you can basically evaluate and develop 2 rookie quarterbacks at the same time, and then still think that you would have a chance to contend. So if the first month doesn't go well, then I think we're on it talking about, which of Dylan or which of Shedeur or both are going to start to get a chunk of the remaining, at that point, 13, 12, 11 games that'll be left on the 25 schedule.
Interesting. So you mean the first month of the season is what you're saying? Gotcha.
Well, I think if you're at 1-3, it's probably looking like trouble city already,
Yeah. Barry handled this, and then secondly, can they carry 4 quarterbacks to the roster? When do we start speculating about trading one of these guys?
I think he starts speculating about really, really quick. Personally, my opinion is Flacco's an inevitability as a starter. Pickett's which would be pretty nice, but the odds are against it. And then you have Dillon and Sanders, obviously, who are really playing to be backups, I think, both of them. And they're looking, especially with an eye to 2026, who can back up a quarterback of those two. I think Gabriel winds up the backup. I think Sadur is third, and I think Pickett is gone.
Come on off of mute there and tell me why who you like to start this season, when you're going to get a feel for these reps, and when can we talk about trading somebody, or you think they carry 4 to the season? Kind of all of that, sum that up for me.
I think it'd be surprising if they carried all 4. I just don't really see the point because you already know what you have in Flacco. Pickett was, he's your wild card, upside play. But I mean, I feel like if we're being honest, the 2 rookies have more upside than he does. There's not really a point, at least as far as I see it. So I think he would probably be the guy they would look to trade if possible. I just don't know if he's going to have much value on the trade market. And then I think, it depends on how the first, maybe 4, 5, 6 games go with Flacco as the starter before you kind of start thinking about, all right, we have to think about this long term, right? So like Jeff was saying, realistically, neither Sanders nor Gabriel is going to be the starter next year, right? They're going to be supply. I think it makes more sense this year to see what one or ideally both of those guys can do as a long-term backup, because I think that's kind of what the thought process was taking a guy in the 3rd round here just this past April. And then Sanders was kind of like your wild card. This guy was supposed to be here. We'll take a dart. Realistic about the way this roster is constructed right now, the talent level, the competition level, where they are as a franchise, I think you have to experiment with those 2 rookies, planning long term, because that's just what's best for the team moving forward.
Let us know in the chat if the sound is getting any better. I was playing a little bit with this. If it's still chippy, let us know. Who starts this season, and what does a rookie have to do to win this starting job, and using those first-round picks next year to take another quarterback?
Well, your first question is who starts. For me, that's Joe Flacco. I just think that you have the proof of concept, and more importantly, you have the locker room buy-in. That's something you can sell to your locker room, that you were trying to compete, putting your best foot forward. And then I think you just have a higher floor coming out the gate with Flacco. Now, what does the runway look like before is I don't think they can carry 4 going into the season, but one of those rookies has to show that they are legit backup material right away before you can think about moving on from Pickett. So that's the first step they got to do. So plant Pickett as the backup, and then from there it's just survive in advance. It's right in the middle. They have a tough stretch to start the year, and when they come back from overseas, that's when it could. If the record's not going the way you want it to, then you might see some movement in that direction. But as far as what they have to do, it's going out there and putting in the work every day, getting the respect of your teammates, getting your teammates to believe in, and that you could be the guy that could lead them to victories. If you can't do that, and this thing goes south, and you're just putting rookies out there to see what they got, you're going to lose the locker room. And if you lose the locker room, you probably lose your job.
Yeah, it's a good point. Jack, where are you at with these quarterback 4 to the roster, in your opinion?
So, I think the most... Firstly, is my audio working? Can you guys hear me? Yep. Just changing my mics, stuff I'm used to using. So I think everything's trending towards Joe Flacco. And part of the reason for that is I think he could easily go to somewhere like the Saints and potentially start. The challenge you've got is if you move him now and then the Saints go on to win more games and Joe Flacco does a quarterback, that's a stick that Andrew Berry and the team will potentially get beaten with. So it's one that I don't think there's any reason to rush that move because you want to see it play out and make a decision at some point. So I think that they'll do their due process. And also, you've got to allow these two rookies to show they're good enough to be backups. I think it could be one that, say, after preseason game one, potentially triggers pulled. Everything until then is about setting the top of that depth chart. But it's between the two veterans for me for who is the starter. Everything else beyond that's a decision. I think people are too quick to say they're definitely taking a quarterback in next year's draft, partly because if you win 8 or more games, you might not be in the conversation for picking a quarterback in the start of the draft. About 2, 3 slam dunk top quarterbacks, we could play ourselves out of that. There is enough talent on this team that that's not an unrealistic thing to talk about.
Fred, 4 quarterbacks. How long until we know how they're going to handle this camp with all 4 of them rep-wise? Who emerges as the starter? And are you expecting them to trade one of these guys?
Well, first I got to say I like the best background is Sam's. I've got a full mounted bear in my office. I should have thought of that to do that. I've got 2 there, got 1 full mounted, so that's cool. I think this week they have 4 practices Wednesday. I think we'll get a good feel after those 4 practices, at least how the reps are being used. If they're still doing the 2 quarterbacks on 2 fields and how they do it. Then they break Sunday. They'll come back Monday. I think we'll get a sense Monday when they get back on the field because they'll have maybe rejuggled how they're doing things. But I think we could get a pretty good sense either by the end of this 4th practice or by the 7th next Wednesday because then they're off next Thursday. So we'll get a feel on the rhythm and what they're doing. They're not going to name any start or anything. That will be more definitive. But I think as far as the second preseason game when they go over to practice with the Eagles, I don't know if they'll name a starter publicly, but I think it'll be decided after those practices because those are going to be very important. And then you have the dress rehearsal as the last game. So they don't have a whole lot of time. They go down to Carolina and practice August 6th, and then they play August 8th. So you got to start getting people ready. I don't remember all the questions, but I do think that they will trade Kenny Pickett. That will be who they try. And I'm not sure, like Jack said, if they're in any hurry to trade somebody. And I could see them keeping 4 on the roster, even final cut down when they get to the regular season. I think they'll try to make a move. But you have to look at it. With that 16-man practice squad, there's really 69 on the team, and they use those. That's like a AAA farm team they bring up, on day of the game. And the quarterbacks are too valuable an assets. And if they feel like they can get something for one of them, they're going to hang on to them, So that's kind of how I see that happening. As far as I do think that we'll start to get a feel on the rotation and the reps, maybe as quick as the end of this week, but certainly by the middle of next week.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. I think you got to make a decision quick, right, on these reps and how they're going to handle this thing. Listen, we're going to shut this down for a second. We're going to come back. We'll call it part 2. Okay, we're going to try to work out these sound issues real quick, but hang with us. The stream will be right back up, and we're going to try to get this worked out for you guys. Okay, one moment here.